Welcome to the Wrestling Universe channel. My name is Cosk, and today we are joined by the one, the only Y2Wrestling.
Welcome. Thank you for having me on. I'm excited to be here today. We're going to be doing this tier list about the big gold belt, the AEW World title.
It's a very interesting championship to look at because it had a short yet very memorable history. It's had its massive ups, but it's had its downs, like pretty big downs in its history. So I'm all about all killer no filler. So let's just get on right away with Le Champion, Chris Jericho. Where would you rank him?
A little bit of the bubbly. This title establishing, I would give it a S tier only because I just feel like the importance of establishing that championship, of bringing new eyes to the product, people that potentially checking out AEW that watch WWE. To have Jericho there, to have a wrestling legend, wrestling veteran to really establish it. And I really just thought the promo segments were really uh, entertaining during his reign. The feud with Cody Rhodes, and then passing it on to Moxley. I just think it was well done and what it needed to be at that point in time.
So you would rank it what?
S tier.
I'm gonna have to disagree. I think it was a great run. Like it was an establishing run. Like it established not just the title but the company really. But when you look at the other S tier runs that we're going to talk about, I don't think Chris Jericho's is on that level. So this isn't disrespect to him. This is more respect to what those other guys accomplished because like there's levels to this basically. And Chris
Yeah,
Jericho,
definitely fair.
yeah, Chris Jericho, he had this great run, but as we've said, it's an introductionary run, whereas the others were more like AEW's established. AEW now has the talent, whereas Jericho was kind of fighting with great talent, but like the early stages of AEW, which while a great time for the company was, you didn't have your CM Punks, your Brian Danielsons there, you didn't have Kenny Omega at his best because he was doing this whole falling down story in the beginning of the company. You didn't have Hangman Page at the level he was, other than, well, of course, Jericho beat Hangman for the title, but it wasn't the Hangman we know today. At the time, it was really, why is the first match Chris Jericho versus Hangman Page, the other guy of the Bullet Club? So I'm going to have to give this an A.
Yeah, no, I think it's fair. Bottom of S, top of A, because it was the title reign in terms of length, in terms of overall great singles defenses. I can see where you're coming from. I think top of A is fair.
Okay. Now, the man who beat him for the title, a man who we're going to see a lot of times on this list, as you can see, Jon Moxley. Where would you rank him?
So I would rank it an S, and my reasoning would be, well, you got to look at it from the historical context of the pandemic. He had to, you know, his whole title run was in Daly's place. A lot of time, in the empty amphitheater. I think just in terms of carrying the company with some great matches. I mean, obviously there was some down points. Like I didn't enjoy his empty arena match with Jake Hager. There were some points where kind of middle of the run were kind of lulled. It was a bit of a disappointing match with Lance Archer, or he randomly faced the Butcher. But I mean, overall, I think he just did some great work, especially the feud with Eddie Kingston. He had a great pay per view match with MJF, and then really good one with Brody Lee, Empty Arena too. So I think you look at the context, he was really carrying the company, and I think it deserves to be in that S tier.
I don't like this as much as one we're going to talk about very soon, but I'm gonna have to agree with S tier for the fact that, like, while it's not as great as maybe some other runs on this list, that was not due to Moxley. That was not due to AEW's booking. That was due to the pandemic. That was due to the fact there were no fans. And if it was anyone but Moxley, I genuinely believe AEW could have really, really struggled to establish itself. I think this title reign is where the ace conversation starts for Moxley. And I think there's nowhere else to put him but at the S tier for what he did for this company during this run. So, Jon Moxley, our first S, and a man who I feel will join him very soon, the belt collector himself, Kenny Omega,
The
Y2.
freaking best bout machine.
Hell yeah. What did you think about this run?
Tremendous run, top of S tier. From the moment he won it on Winter's Coming with Don Callis interfering, just the overall match quality. You know, Ray Phoenix on New Year's Smash. Then you got the exploding barbed wire death match, the 3-way with Orange Cassidy and Pac. Then you got the two matches with Christian Cage on Rampage, all out. And you can't forget the absolute masterpiece, one of the best matches in AEW history, that 30-minute time limit draw against Bryan Danielson, leading up to putting over Hangman Page. So just in general, he just felt like the top guy, best wrestler in the world, or at least I know, obviously, you know, in the conversation because it's subjective. But in general, just the act of him and Don Callis, and then the match quality put together, I think it was just chef's kiss.
I'm gonna have to agree. I would say right now, this is gonna be a bit of a spoiler for the rest of the list, but this is the best AEW World Title reign so far. It's near the reign. It had a team, which is something that I feel like a lot of reigns lack in wrestling in general. You know, you had the Hangman team during this run. When is Hangman gonna come? Which, um, it made it a bit predictable at times, but at the same time, when you're having stories like the Danielson story and the Danielson match, when you're having the Orange Cassidy Pac story, or more so the match and the story within the match, when you have the genuine superb work that Kenny Omega did, the Ray Phoenix match, the even the Christian Cage match was really good.
Yeah,
Pretty
Jungle Boy too.
Jungle Boy, yeah, like everything that Kenny Omega did at this point was golden. He was like this coked up villain basically during this run, which is strange for a straight edge guy, but I digress.
And then just to add on, and then you also had Don Callis with them, which is just a despisable heel, which made things work even better. Like I remember one of my favorite things was when before the match started, you have Don Callis listing off all these big old wrestling names like Nick Bockwinkel or Andre the Giant or like Hulk Hogan or something, and it was just like it was just really funny. I felt like the act pulled together with the belts, and even from a business perspective, AEW did very very well during that time. In general, just a S tier reign, top of S tier as well.
Yeah, it was he was the champion during the hottest period of this company's history so far, so I think there's no debate. And something we didn't mention is he had the elite behind him,
True.
which was great television in my opinion. So yeah, let's put him in S tier. I think there's no debate that this is the best reign in AEW's history so far. But unfortunately, I don't think we can say the same about the next one. What did you think about Hangman Page's reign?
Yeah, I mean it's really unfortunate because Hangman Page winning the AEW championship was built up for a long time. It's one of the biggest moments in AEW history. But then the follow up, it just wasn't on the same level as Jericho, Moxley, and Omega. It's just you did put on some really good matches there. The two with Danielson and Winter's Coming in the first Dynamite on TBS. He had the match with Lance Archer. Some Adam Cole. Leading to the CM Punk match. But in general, it's just the story uh, wasn't there as much. And then I don't know if it's just his presence on TV where he wasn't getting that. It's crazy to say because he was world champion, but it was almost like he wasn't even getting the TV time that the champ usually demands. So, unfortunately, I would put this in B.
I'm gonna have to agree. I think the story of this reign was really great matches, but no story to invest in. you had the Lance Archer match, which I thought was great. You had the Danielson matches, which I thought was great. But like, none of these stories I really invested in personally as a fan. And unfortunately, as we're going to talk about soon, it kind of ended on a whimper because of the whole CM Punk Brawl Out fiasco. Of course, this was before Brawl Out, but like this was like the beginning where the seeds were being planted, where they were cutting these weird shoot promos about how they're protecting AEW from the evil and whatever. Like this.
Yeah, no, and there was like workers' rights and Colt Cabana. It's a whole controversy. Just in general, did not put the company in the best position. I mean, if you look at this Hangman reign, I hate to say that, like, I hate to say this, but you could look at it as like a down start of a downturn for the title that goes through almost till until you get MJF, where now it's starting to regain. But until Hangman, I felt like the AEW World title was on an elite, very prestigious, and then it just kind of, it's still obviously prestigious when these guys held it, but it kind of felt like it was just losing value through the second CM Punk reign.
So I think we're both in agreement. This title reign, not bad, but doesn't. It was the start of a fall of prestige, where at first it was this, no pun intended, elite level championship, where every single reign was super memorable, but then it kind of was just another world championship. And something that did not help that case was, and I'm gonna group these together. What did you think about the CM Punk title reigns, or lack thereof?
Well, unfortunately, they both go in D. I mean, the first one is really just sad because there was a lot of potential CM Punk winning his first world championship in how many years, 7 8 years, whatever it was. And the first Dynamite that he's on, he dives into the crowd and just like he broke his like foot or ankle or whatever. I mean, it's just obviously he was unlucky, but it's sad to say that it goes in deep because it had the potential with he's going to face Tanahashi, but yeah, the first one goes in D, and if we're going over the second one as well, I mean that one I'm not as sad about because he was going to lose it anyway, even if he didn't get injured. But yeah, D. I mean, he held it for 3 days. He has to be ranked in D because it's probably the worst case scenario for a title reign.
Not only would I say this was a bad title reign, I would say this was an actively damaging title reign. I think the CM Punk runs ruined the prestige of this title, which struggled to come back up with the Moxley and MJF reigns kind of helping build it towards like this resurgence, this renaissance.
And
But
then even just from a booking perspective, the idea of the interim belt and the confusion around that is just it wasn't a good time for the AEW World Championship.
no, it was not. And of course, Brawl Out, you can't really mention these runs without it. Brawl Out was the biggest controversy of this company, something that really, really for a long time felt like the end of the glory days of AEW, and I feel like they're starting to get back there, but it it really put a curse on AEW for like a year basically. So yeah, I think these title reigns are going to have to go at D. And now we have. I'm gonna separate these. What do you think about Jon
Yeah, I think these
Moxley's?
should be. Yeah, these definitely should be separated, in my opinion.
What do you think about the second Jon Moxley title reign?
What? Well, the second one. Okay, the second one I would put in C because he didn't hold it long enough. It was basically just he was holding it long enough for MJF to win. He beat Danielson uh, to get the belt, but mainly it was just that him getting back to the title and holding it until to lose it pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, so we have the first one, which is just like the second one, the second reign, which, I mean, you can kind of combine these, but like the second reign was really the CM Punk moment. The beating CM Punk, and it was a moment reign because nothing else happened. It was only like 2-3 weeks really, but no, no, no.
Oh wait, no. See, now even we're confused.
Oh yeah,
No,
because
because the what you're talking about with him beating CM Punk, that's the first title reign.
yeah, because this
You're
is
thinking about like when he was for the first one. I'm thinking about when he won the interim against Tanahashi till he lost to Punk it all out.
oh yeah,
That's what
because
I think the
they have the
first one
title
is.
versus title, didn't they?
Yeah, and then the second title reign is more of when CM Punk was stripped, and then they did that like tournament of champions where Moxley won, and so that's basically what the second reign that I was saying. Moxley was just basically holding it to lose it to MJF.
Okay, okay. So I think I'm gonna have to put. The first one is a really interesting one because I'm gonna have to put the first one at the interim one at a C. Do you agree with me there? I think so.
Ooh, the first one. The first one, I mean, I know it was short, but I think you do have a case for B because Moxley really was grinding. He had the match with Tanahashi. I think I remember him having a banger with Takeshita. He had the match against Jericho at Quake by the Lake. I mean, he was trying his hardest during that interim period to again help the company. So I don't know. I think there's a case for that first one being B.
Do you think it's as good as the Hangman Page one though, or do you think it should be B
Uh,
but below Hangman's?
yeah. Like lower tier B, but it's not Moxley's fault. He was just doing the best, and he was doing the another that interim reign is one of the reasons why people call him the Ace. When AEW was in a tricky position, he took up the mantle. He canceled his vacation and
The story
and
of his
grinded as
career,
hard as he
canceling
can.
vacations. So yeah, I think you're right because I do remember also. I don't know if this was the second or third one, but he had the great Brody King match.
Oh, yeah, that's the first one too. I remember that. That was great.
So this goes over here, and I'm really conflicted about the MJF one where he lost it to MJF because on one hand, it wasn't a big title reign, but it was a very historic title reign in the sense that like we keep talking about this established him as the ace, this established him as the ace, but this is really when the ace conversation started to come in full time because like this was after Brawl Out, if you remember.
Yeah, poor Moxley here. Can't catch a break. He's
But
got to keep working. He's a great worker though.
I don't think it really compares to the other Moxie reign, so I'm gonna have to give this a C. Would you? I think you agree with me here.
Yeah, it wasn't long enough to give it anything else, but it's not like the DCM Punks. Like it was a reign. I really from the second one. I don't remember if he wrestled anybody besides. I know he beat Danielson, and then he lost to MJF. There might have been a defense in there somewhere. I don't remember.
And speaking of the devil, next up we have Maxwell Jacob Friedman, the current AEW World Champion. Where would you rank MJF?
So I feel like this title reign has the makings of an S. But today, in this moment, I would I would say A. But I think when the reign's over, it will be an S because there's been great stuff already since MJF won, like the Ricky Starks program or that 60-minute Iron Man match at Revolution, or the Double or Nothing 4-way, which was great and beat out expectations of what people were thinking it was going to be. And even had he's had some well worked matches with uh, Tanahashi and Ethan Page recently on Collision. And then I've been absolutely loving the MJF and Adam Cole program lately. So I mean, it's been a tremendous title reign. Finally getting the AEW World Title back on the upward slope where it really should be. But I'd give it A just because it's still ongoing. So yeah.
I agree. I mean, there has been downs of this reign, but this really feels like it's brought back the prestige of the title because after so many transitional runs and disappointing runs, it feels like the title lost what made it special. But this MJF run reminds me of the old AEW Championship in the sense that it's like an era of the company. The Chris Jericho run, the first one, oh, well, he only had one, but like the first run of the the first title run that there was, the Chris Jericho one, felt like an era for the company. The Jon Moxley run, the pandemic one, felt like an era for the company. The Kenny Omega one felt like an era for the company. Whereas I think you can pair Hangman Page, the two Moxley reigns, and the CM Punk reigns into the same era, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Whereas the MJF run, as I said, it's like this new era of AEW. It's brought prestige back into the title reign. It's brought hope back into the company. So I do agree that it belongs in A, but I have a hot take here. Maybe I think it's better than Jericho's run.
Yeah, you probably would, just because I actually agree, because if you look at just match quality, I'd say that's where inches ahead. Because, I mean, Jericho had some really good matches, but I think you if you put their catalogs next to each other of like big time title defenses that were bangers, I think MJF would clear over Jericho.
And there you
But
have it.
but I will mention, I did mention it before, but I do think it can get into the S tier. Like, it's, it's still ongoing, obviously, as the recording of this video.
I agree. I agree. So there you have it. Essentially, the the thing to take away from this video is that Kenny Omega is the GOAT, the greatest of all time, and I will not hear otherwise. Um,
We definitely love Kenny on this channel.
Absolutely. Jim Cornette fans do not like us.
To be fair, I enjoy CM Punk.
I
His matches and his promos too. So I have nothing against Punk when I say I like Omega. I
oh
know some
yeah,
people mix that up.
I'm a big fan of Punk too. Um, I've been Cosk. I have been joined by the great Y2Wrestling, who you can find at Y2Wrestling on Twitter. You can find me at Cosk151. Thank you for joining us for this video. Subscribe for more.